for me, the process of recharging my batteries, of being stimulated, almost always gets to movies and television. When I'm really just completely tired, what I do is watch the best movies that I can find, or movies that will directly feed my creative process. And I've been doing this for years. What I respond to in movies is the storytelling, the characters, and the visual beauty, because when I'm writing, I'm very sensitive to visual beauty, and I describe things a lot physically in my books. So if I'm exhausted, if I've just written a chapter and I can't write anymore and I need a day off, I will watch a beautiful movie like Amadeus or Immortal Beloved about Beethoven, or I'll watch a TV series. I mean, sometimes just an action-packed series like Alias will just get my mind to racing. Various creative ideas will come to me just from watching that much action and storytelling on the screen. It doesn't have to be high art. It can be something very mundane. I know my husband, who was a painter and a poet, he used to watch sports to an unbelievable degree almost. I mean, I don't think there was a sport that he wouldn't watch. And obviously that did it for him. That gave his brain some sort of exercise that he needed so that he could go back and paint literally all day or work on his poetry all day. He used to work an 8-hour day as an artist or a 12-hour day. But I do think this varies a lot. You have to find, as an artist, you have to find what's going to revive you and give you some kind of nourishment. Music does it a lot for me. I listen to a very wide variety of music, and I just listened to the Beethoven Concerto for Violin and Orchestra a few minutes ago, and I was tired. I lay down, I listened to the whole thing, and then I listened to the famous concerto by Max Bruch, and those things completely refreshed me. I daydream when I hear that music. Story ideas come to me, plots, dramatic scenes. So this almost always works for me. I think when you're actually blocked and you can't write, this works very well, but also reading. There are certain authors, what they do in their prose always excites me and makes me want to go to the keyboard and immediately start writing. A popular novel, The Godfather by Mario Puzo. The narrative drive in that novel is so strong that it always gets me to writing, and I can always see, after reading a few pages of The Godfather, I can always see a way to solve a narrative problem in my own work. Other times, I may need the language. If my adjectives are coming too thick and too strong, I'll read a short story by Ernest Hemingway, Cat in the Rain. Or some other story by him that's told in the simplest, most stark terms to remind myself to get to that essence and let some of the adjectives go, let them out of the way. Sometimes I read English ghost stories by English authors. I like these in particular, the ghost stories of the 19th century and the 20th century. And I'll read them over and over again just for the very opposite of what I go to Hemingway for. I'll go to these ghost stories for the language. I find that British popular writers, ghost story writers included, have very rich vocabularies. And I love to happen on new words and new combinations of words. And of course I just enjoy the stories, but my favorite authors among the British ghost story writers are Algernon Blackwood and Sheridan Le Fanu and M.R. James. And I really just get a lot of refreshment from this. And there are other times when it helps me to read a biography, to read about another writer's life and what that writer went through, how that writer responded to bad reviews or disappointment or physical illness. The person whose life I go to the most is Charles Dickens. I go over and over again to 2 or 3 good biographies I have of Charles Dickens, and I love reading about how he negotiated success and problems and disappointments. It's very instructive for me. So that's what works for me. You know, but again, this is a highly personal thing with each artist. I mean, you'll find out what really works for you. Before I finish this, I want to mention one of my favorite songs is the song Mr. Tambourine Man, the record by Bob Dylan. I think that song is perfectly about a creative person who is tired and has run out of creative spirit and needs to refresh his soul. And that song addresses this question. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, sing a song for me, or play a song for me. My mind's too dead for dreaming. And I thought that song has been with me for 30 years. It's a great song, I think, for anybody to listen to when they're trying to create something.